Outside of wrestling, I know you've done a lot of motivational speaking. Talk to me about what made you decide to go into that and any kind of venues you feel were some of your favorites.
On the speaking part of it, I was always big. I mean, it started back with me in football, just doing stuff um, through that, through me progressing in football through high school. I was like a top 100 player in the nation, a parade All-American. We would go and talk to, even at that point, we'd go to Shriners hospitals and see kids and um, go there. And that I think that was the real start for me, like doing that and seeing, like, a lot of those kids, they had no idea who any of us were going to these hospitals. A lot of times they just knew we were these all-star football players. And that you're going into these places like Shriners, and all the hardships that these kids are going through. And it not only did it put things in perspective for me, because I know I was like, man, you're whining and crying about having to practice, and you're tired and you're this and that, and you're going and seeing these kids that are battling cancer, and the courage these kids have, and um, putting a smile on their face, like when you come in. And it's like, if you can suspend that for just a little while, that really hit me and really touched me, and seeing um, the effect you can have on somebody else. And like I said, not only that, just personally putting things in perspective for me, it was like, it's not too tough, man. You know what? Things could always be worse. I can run, I can go out here and do these practices, and it's either cold or it's hot, it's raining, it's dry, it's this or that. And this kid would give anything to get out of this hospital bed just to be able to go do just a fraction of what I could do. And so at that point, I was like, I shouldn't be complaining about anything ever. And at that point, I was just like, I always told God, I was like, things could always be worse. Thank you for everything you've given me, but most importantly, thank you for the things you haven't. Um, and that kind of started me down that road. And then when I got into wrestling, obviously, I started doing some speaking engagements and just talking to high school kids. And then after wrestling, got into that and just um, really talking to them, just my story, because I've got an even bigger story with football in terms of things I went through to have to go and accomplish what I accomplished, and just about never giving up, and whatever your dreams are, lock into them, go when people tell you that you can't, go and do it. I mean, I would tell them, I was like, my high school guidance counselor told me I should go to a school, a trade school, because I'd never make it in college because of my grades in high school. Um, and I went on to college, and my first year I had a 3.4 grade average. Um, College was just more conducive to my abilities and how you study compared to high school. Um, and I was like, don't ever tell me I can't do something. It's what I want. I'm going to do it. And, just conveying that message, and listen to your parents, and listen to your coaches, and biggest thing is believing in yourself, because even coming out of my parents and a lot of people, a lot of family friends, and were really like, thought I was crazy to leave football, even after the injury, to go do wrestling. And I was like, this is where I feel like I need to go. This is what my gut's telling me to do. I feel like I'm being pulled in this direction. And some people are like, oh, you're not going to ever get on TV. I go, well, I won't if I don't ever try. That's for sure. And I was completely confident in myself and my abilities. And I felt like I had what it would take to do that. So I try to correlate that into talking to young people about just, find whatever your goal is, uh, and finding how you can progress towards that goal each and every day. You know, don't think in terms so much of the end. Think of what you got to do now to get there. Like me, and I use myself as an example, because I didn't do a lot of things that I should have in high school to make my ultimate dream in playing college football, major college football, come true. I had to do it the hard way. I
And
thought more about the end result as opposed to, man, you need grades. And at that time, uh, football had shifted from it was Brian Bosworth had just come out with his book and told all the stuff in college how they don't, you get paid for watching the sprinklers at the practice fields go off, and you don't have and honestly at that time you didn't have to have any grades to go play college football, and that really started to shift at that time, and I was right there in that crux of that, and I kind of got caught up in that because, like I said, I wasn't this big student. It wasn't because I wasn't smart enough. I could pass the test. I just hated doing homework. Like it just didn't make sense to me. I was like a C and B test taker, but because of my homework and the averages that they would do, I had bad grades.
and you were able to turn all that around, and you've had such an incredible career. Now, yeah, I mean, life is all about taking risks, and you got to do what your heart tells you to do. And if you're motivated by something and you have dreams, you pursue them and work as hard as you can to keep going. And so, what is it about giving back to the community and sharing your story with others that gives you the most joy?
Well, just it is. I think it's like with a lot of people. It's like when I taught, if you can reach one or two people, out of a group you're talking to, because I talked to a lot of like sports teams, like baseball teams, football teams, um, and it just wasn't about because not all those guys are going to be able to go play at the next level. So it just wasn't about going and doing your sport. It was like you need to start thinking in terms of where you're going to go, what do you want to do, and how do you attain that. And just you can't let anything stop you. And you're going to have more failures than successes. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to think there's no way I can go through. So like when you're telling people this, if there's just one person that can learn and take from the things you've experienced and apply that and 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 use that and go on to be successful. That was the biggest thing for me. I enjoyed doing, and I was like, it was just giving back. I got a story I want to tell, just not for me, but a story that I can tell that I think could help somebody else. And go, look, it doesn't matter how great you were. I was all everything, all American, this and that, and I had to go and re-enroll in high school after I graduated, which is a whole nother story. But, I had to swallow a lot of pride when you're like, a guy at your high school that's like one of the top, or the top athlete there, and you've accomplished the things you've accomplished. So whether you're an athlete or whether you're in academics or whatever you're wanting to go do, um, you're going to have these setbacks, and there's going to be things you're going to have to do that you don't really want to do, but if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to do it.
Exactly. It's all about the passion.
That's it. How design it's just like with the PowerPoint. That's kind of what they did. They wanted to see who had the passion, who had the drive, who was willing to go through the hell that was that power plant trial to be a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Life's very much the same way. Very seldom are things just given to you. When they are, you always tend to take them for granted. We all do. It's just human nature. But when you had to work for it and strive, and you've had ups and downs and trials and tribulations, to be able to reach out and do that kind of stuff, and speaking to young kids and having some of them listen and taking some of that advice and taking your experiences and be able to apply that to their everyday life and maybe going and do something is really cool. Like I said, I would have liked to have gotten further into the charity stuff and like Make a Wish and things like that. I did some of that stuff, but not nearly as much as I wanted to, because that was really big. Like I said, that was really the springboard for me, being young. Like it started for me, like I said, in high school.